Hello, everybody. We have some actual interesting news coming out for Blue Archive. I have quite a few tabs that we're going to be talking about because actually, Kim went and did a Q&A at the net at a university. So let's get started. From the time Blue Archive's game design was the activation of fan create oh my god, game design was the activation of fan creations intentionally planned. Yes, it was. There were various reasons, but one of them was that we wanted to become the most popular game at Comic-Con. So let me get this straight. The CEO himself was planning to take over Comic-Con with Blue Archive. You know what? Hey. Seeing how Comic-Con is right now, where they're making their own genres in Comic-Con for Blue Archive, I think bro succeeded. I mean, it's been taken over for 3+ years already. They succeeded with that goal. So the fact that he had this goal already is nuts. That is actually nuts. So let's move on to the next thing. And this is like kind of like sporadic things I wanted to pick out, but if you really want to go to this account, just look up this account name. There's a lot of stuff in here. How far has the roadmap for Blue Archive been finalized? Up to 2027 has been finalized. Huh. So all content we're going to be seeing this year and next year is all done. Remember when I said these gacha games are one step ahead? This is what I mean. What are the criteria for selecting characters to implement with costume variations or similar? First and foremost, in the story progression, that includes main storyline progress as well. Yeah. So we're getting a lot of answers right now of why they do certain things, and costume variations are part of the story. I mean, it makes sense. We looked at Battle Rio, Battle Ares, Battle Emmy, Battle Yuzu, all part of the story. And other things like events also do blend in with the main story as well from time to time. So it's not like a random thing where, oh, this character just gets this because they're super duper popular, which is kind of the case sometimes. Sometimes that's the case, but not all the time. It's more of they're planning around the story. Understandable. I think here we go. Okay, so this whole section of post are basically him. Well, I'll get to this stuff later. But this selection of posts right here is basically him talking about his experience of becoming a game developer, a programmer. So 2025, 2027, 2010. I said 27, 2007, 2005, 2010, and 2012, and so on. There are many projects that ended up going down the drain. The bottom is right is a game from Project B6, and that graphic looked pretty impressive in real time, but it still flopped. So he had a lot of plans for other games. He's been trying to do these projects and find something good for years, and it can sting sometimes, guys. Being a creative and finding that project that may land, it does sting. It really does. I can understand this 100%. To express this concept, all images in-game are designed with the directional touch of view from the teacher's perspective. For example, the in-game terms, screen, system, visual components, etc. Yeah, this makes sense. This 100% makes sense that we are like, it's the tablet, we're talking to the player, we're talking to the students. You get it, right? We're texting. It puts a really good in-depth lore reason of how we're playing this game. Pretty cool. And here's actually something cool. Here's actually something interesting that I'm actually like, I found interesting because I want to take this into account. When this eye, which is basically the human eye, is cultivated, you will be able to read elements. Not human eye. Let me rephrase that. This eye that he's talking about, we call it the artistic eye. And I have those artist eyes. Is cultivated, you will be able to read elements with intention. One of the characteristics of Blue Archive is that compared to other games, it does not increase the density of fine details. Expressing hair shading is more detail, adding more highlights to the eye, or making shading appear denser. These are details. So basically what they're saying in this example, actually I can just get both of these images real quick. Hold on. Like here's an example from Wuthering Waves, since that's what was used in this post right here. In Weathering Waves, the details, there's way more details, like way more details in the shading, in the hair. You can see the details in the collarbone for the neck. In the outfit, there's tons of shading. There's at least, it's using like 2 or 3 shades when it comes to this outfit with the outfit shading. There's a little bit of gradient as well. lighting lighting affecting the clothes. There's translucent clothing too, which also doesn't which can also go into the background. Like, there's a lot going on. But when you go to Blue Archive, they do sell shading. But for the character, it's way more simple, and you can see one type of shading done on the character itself and the clothes. Now, when it comes to the guns, obviously, the guns do use one type of shading, but there's a little more to it. There's more lighting, there's a little more shading. You get it, right? But what he's saying is he goes for a more simpler style for Blue Archive because that's unique in their eyes. In their eyes, this is way more unique. They don't have to go above and beyond for their character art, because if we looked back before in the past, I can grab an old character actually. We can look at Azuna, for example. Like, Azuna's art here, way more stuff to it. There's soft shading. There's both soft and shell shading. There's more finer details added onto the character. Their art style was way different. Also, there's plenty of more artists that do work on the game, so their art styles do blend together. But now they found a consistent art style, a more simpler art style that is easy to produce. It's easy to replicate onto other characters, because that's what you want, right? You want to make sure your art style sticks out among all the rest of the market, and it's easy to replicate with other artists. And this is it, which is pretty good. Pretty good indeed. Good details here. Recent subcultural works, character designs have been focusing on this escalation of details as their main strength, and that doesn't mean it's just a difference that is inherently bad. However, Blue Archive has taken the direction of creating appealing character designs without relying on that. As a result, it's heading down a path of reducing details instead. Just like we talked about earlier. Yeah. Their details, as you see from the newer characters, you can see, like, look at Rio. And we can use Rio for example, because actually Rio is a perfect example. This is Rio's alt, and this is Rio, old Rio. They have significantly dropped the details on this character. From before to now, her details have went down. And it's understandable why they're trying to do that, because they would much rather use the strength of the designs themselves instead of the technical aspect of art. I might explain that in a video on the art channel, like technical art and technical skills and stuff, and character design. Because character design is subjective, and anybody can, and a lot of people can like a character design if they want. But the thing is, when it comes to Blue Archive, it is so much stronger because they're way more appealing character designs, and they can take that leeway of not relying, like you said, not using the finer details and going so hyper crazy on the details, because it can get confusing for some people. Like, look at this. Like, I'm looking at the design, my eyes gravitate towards her face, and then when I look down, there is a lot going on. And some people like this hyper intensity, like you said, high density type character with a lot of volume, but it can be confusing for some people. As you can tell, guys, I love character designs. I love talk about art. So if this section was a little longer, you know why. All right, I think this one was actually, hold on. No. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Actually, this is cool. Is there a standard for naming characters? The person who writes the basic story usually comes up with the names. Normally we discuss with Yostar and assign Japanese surnames, but that's the tricky part in Korea, isn't it? Of course, all scenario writers are people who can speak Japanese. Yeah, makes sense. For regular live service games, the roadmap for at least 6 months to a year is already locked in, so by that time, you're going back and forth to discuss creating resources, overseeing production, and all the whoops. And all that. Whoops, a whole year slips by before you know it. First talked about, came up with a bunch of positive reactions, and next on Pack and DJ Max. Yeah, this is basically like a little project that they were doing. And then the last thing, and this is the big one to end this off. There's a lot more, but kind of want to keep this like at least around 10 minutes because there's too much. Do you have any intention to hold an additional collaboration with Blue Archive in an in or out license format? I'm really torn about it. Even now, there are students of Blue Archive who haven't gotten the spotlight, so I needed to address that. And the collaborations everyone's doing aren't all that interesting anyways. And on top of that, it needs to have buzz and synergy. So basically he's saying he would like to try doing more collaborations with Blue Archive, but he's really torn on it because he doesn't know if it really will synergize with whatever game they're going to try to collaborate with, or whatever game tries to collab inside of Blue Archive. They don't know if there's going to be a lot of buzz, or a lot of people are going to, a lot of buzz and people are going to mess with it, or the synergy is just not really there. So at the end of the day, collaborations and collabs with games and all that for Blue Archive is still on the table. He's just torn about it, and he doesn't know if it's going to be popular enough, or people are really going to be, all up and at him about it. Which is understandable, as being like the lead creator. You really got to pick and choose your fights of what you want to do. But yeah, this was a really interesting video. We got way more insight into the game. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys later. Peace out.